Welcome to the Backlash. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves, joined as always by Mr. Dave Riley. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Why didn't you tell me you were wearing a suit? I wouldn't be dressed like Han Solo.
I don't know. I was either gonna wear like this or like a hoodie, and I felt like Pete deserved better.
Oh, come on. Don't throw me under the bus like that. You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website, thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Why did I make this so hard? We shouldn't have named the show this. Send your super chats that will be read live at the end of our show to thebacklash.net/superchat, or right here on my YouTube channel or on our YouTube channel. Please sub on there. We're going to start exclusively streaming on our YouTube channel at Real Backlash in a few months. You can find us on Rumble. That is Backlash Podcast. Find all of our links at thebacklash.net/subscribe. We got a TikTok for the young kids. We got an Instagram.
There's a new one called like Upscroll. Have you heard about this? It just came out over the weekend. I can't handle
another thing. Okay,
I know.
It's too much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sponsors.
A big thank you to our sponsors. That is ODGG Supply. If you want to go blanket mode, if you want to go gorilla mode, they are your folks. Above Time Coffee Roasters. That is small batch handcrafted white positive coffee. Antelope Hill. I messed this up already.
No,
Antelope Hill.
I messed it up.
Publishers of white positive literature, and North Idaho Tallow, skincare without endocrine disruptors. Without further ado, we have one of our favorite guests back on the show. He always has interesting things to say. Mr. Pete Quiñones, host of the Pete Quiñones Show. Hello, Pete. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? Doing well.
We're doing well. I just finished your latest stream with Stormer and the name escapes me. Why didn't I write this down?
Stormy.
Stormer.
Yeah, Stormer. We talk daily.
It was so good. I have so many questions about it. You guys talk about the breakdown of society, about the inability of people to see the truth because of their fear. You cover so many topics. I have so many questions about it. If you're amenable to answering them. The first question I have, So I wanted to have a little discussion around why people are choosing to act like things in this country aren't so bad. I mean, I understand this allegiance to Trump. I understand that psychologically because people have given up so much to support Trump, and it's very difficult to be like, I was wrong. I lost all these personal relationships for a guy that did not pull through. And in general, I think people don't like to admit that they were wrong about something. But I'm seeing a lot of other people that are just saying, well, things aren't that bad. I mean, they're just constantly white pilling, even though the reality of the situation is obviously, to anybody that's paying attention, is much more bleak. So could you talk a little bit about the psychology of these people that are completely unwilling to recognize the reality of our situation in America?
I think a lot of the younger people are not falling for that. I think a lot of the older people who, lived through George W. Bush and lived through Obama and have never really seen a win in their life are willing to look at something like Venezuela. Oh, we went in, went out. We arrested a communist because, we're still fighting the Cold War. And the Communist Party of Venezuela hates the guy. So, I mean, I don't know. They're so desperate for a win that they're willing to accept anything. And it doesn't improve their life. Getting Greenland wouldn't improve their life. It'll improve Ronald Lauder's life. What we're seeing is a gigantic distraction. We're seeing, look, we can do these things overseas and we can talk shit on world leaders, but home, well, you just lost Virginia. And in my opinion, the GOP gave Virginia to the libtard Reich and allowed them to do everything that they're doing. There's no reason that you run a Jamaican black woman in Virginia. Otherwise, someone who denounced Charlottesville to the point where she was for getting rid of the Confederate statues. But that's who you want. People who have albeit maybe just a little bit of a growing white consciousness, that you want them to vote for her. You want them to get excited for her. No, I think they did that on purpose, that it was suicide. So Virginia now belongs to, they did that on the regime that's existed for 100 years. Minnesota obviously does. The only answer to Minnesota is martial law, arresting every politician, burning the flag, declaring year zero, and starting all over again. It's the only answer to it.
Right.
It's not, sending ICE in to arrest violent criminals violent illegals is a very good, that's a good thing to do. But as somebody who is very well read on Waco, the feds do not do well if they don't have local law enforcement support. It's almost impossible. You can see there are cities around the country right now where ICE is, and they're moving people out very peacefully and very calmly because they have the help of local law enforcement. And they also don't have a regime that has been built in Minnesota, which basically allows the governor to take the side of the worst people in society, tax feeders, 65 IQ tax feeders. The lieutenant governor, who is running signal groups to help orchestrate, ICE block or whatever this is. And, you had a Minnesota state politician get assassinated last year, who just happened to be the one person in the state who was speaking up against, what was going on in the state.
Right. I think she knew. I think she made some comments that her life was in danger and that she was worried she was going to get killed. And the person that ended up killing her targeted some other similar politicians as well. But she knew what she was in for. I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to fight this through the system. And I hear you talk a lot about that. And I know that you've said that ICE is up against something it's just impossible for them to achieve. So what should Trump have done on day one of his presidency to prevent something like this from happening? Because I think that we're seeing all this messy behavior with ICE because they did not get ahead of the situation and they're fighting a losing battle.
Well, the only way that Trump could have achieved what he needed to achieve on day one was to basically become a dictator. And he wasn't going to do that. He wants to be liked too much, in my opinion. He wants people, even he wants his enemies to like him too. He seems to be that kind of person. Really, when you look at like the structure of corruption that has been built in a place like Minnesota, it's on par with what the regime tells you, the Victoria Nulands tell you that Russia is. Probably even more so, because Tim Walz and the Lieutenant Governor, I think Flanagan, and all these people, they wouldn't be so bold in what they're doing if they wouldn't be like, no, screw you, Trump. If they didn't have people in Washington, D.C., in the deep state, administrative state, whatever you want to call it, who are backing them, who are going to make sure that the money keeps flowing to them, and is going to make sure that the National Guard is going to hand out donuts and coffee to the protesters, and not come in and help ICE. You have an immigration problem that can only be solved by making the conditions on the ground so uncomfortable for people that they self-deport. You basically have to cut everything off, cut off their support networks. You have to make NGOs illegal.
What do you guys
What?
My bad. I was playing a clip of showing them handing out the donuts. I didn't have it muted. My bad. My apologies.
Yeah. So, no. And the things that you have to do are year zero kind of things where you break everything and you start all over again. And there's just not the will of anybody to do that. And the people who do have the will to do that and talk about it and articulate it, I think, in an educated way, are going to be purposely shut out of government. And I think that Virginia is like a prime example of it. And I think the GOP is basically committing suicide.
Mm-hmm. In your discussion, my apologies.
I think Virginia shows it. I mean, there's no way they didn't know that they weren't going to get elected,
right.
And that they knew who Spanberger was. I mean, they run that woman in the GOP against a known CIA, someone who works for the CIA.
Right.
They know exactly who she is. So there's no way, this is, Conquest Third Law. Your organization has to be, has to be infiltrated by people who, are against you or working against you. And I think that's what the administration is. I think there are people very close to Trump. I think that the Zionists, since October 7th, watching the anti-Zionist and what they call anti-Semitic attitudes growing, and finding out that there are people in, like the Heritage Foundation, and there are people in the administration who, one of the big things on the Hill right now is like every office trying to find out who's a secret groiper and get rid of them. Mm-hmm. And I think they figured out that there's no brakes on this train when it comes to noticing. So the one thing that they're going to do is they're going to be like, okay, so the GOP is the one place where they have a chance to be hired and infiltrate, then we need to destroy it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because I was going to say, Zionists, this is the chick that
Zionists and Jews don't care whether they rule from the right or the left.
They don't, indeed.
It's all about Jewish interest. And so, you destroy. I mean, the best case scenario is you get someone like Mitt Romney or a George W. Bushite back in there, which would be to me like a Ron DeSantis type or someone like that, or you just destroy it completely and you're like, okay, so we just rule from the left now. And, I don't, this is what I'm seeing when everybody else is like, look at all the amazing things Trump is doing. Well, I mean, if I'm sitting here with an arterial spray is coming out of my, out of my leg, out of my thigh,
right,
and you hand me a Band-Aid, well, that's not going to help. So this isn't like, you're not going to stop this cancer by treatment, a little bit of a treatment here and a little bit of treatment there. You have to attack it head on. And
I totally agree.
That's not going to happen.
One of the people that you were interviewing, I'm not sure which one, said that we need to give the youth the language and the ability to air their grievances, and if we want to prevent violence. And I was just thinking, if that ship has sailed, I don't know how we could possibly do that, because in many ways, although we didn't realize it, that's what we were all trying to do for a while. We were trying to give them the ability to fight these things on the ground level where they could. I mean, do you see a reality where there's not a violent outcome?
There's violence. The violence already started.
Yeah, absolutely.
The violence started 5 years ago. Violence started 10 years ago. I mean, really, you can go back to the Michael Brown shooting in Missouri. And they've just built upon that and built upon that. Then, 2020, people forget that, I can't remember if the number is 38 or 40 American citizens were murdered in the streets during the George Floyd riots.
Yep.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
And now you basically have what I assume are, I mean, I know the guy who got killed this past weekend looks like the happy merchant. So, I mean, I'm not going to.
It's so bad. Look at this. I did an interview yesterday and I was like, oh yeah, well, I guess ICE is like killing Jews in the streets of Minneapolis now. Apparently he's Italian, allegedly.
Yeah,
Dude,
okay.
there's no way. He looks like he's straight out of Chabad HQ. Come on.
He looks like an anti-Semitic propaganda cartoon. Look at that guy's face.
Julia Stryker couldn't have drawn that. But what you'd have is especially when it comes to Minnesota, if you have like native Minnesotans out there protesting, then I mean you have heritage American whites out there protesting. I mean, what the hell's going on here? How do you solve that problem? How do you change these people's minds? You don't. The problem is that everybody thinks that, oh, we'll just unleash law enforcement. We'll just unleash the feds. We'll unleash. The rot is existential and it's foundational. There is a class of people in this country that could be as high as 25 to 30% who are radical leftists. They are on the level of Bolsheviks.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not willing to, I mean, I don't give a fuck about Ukraine or Russia or, what's happening in Nigeria or especially that piece of shit country in the Middle East. We have states here that are lost. Virginia is lost. Minnesota is lost. California is lost. Texas is being overrun by Pajeets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and hey, we got Maduro. Because Maduro was a bad guy. Probably was. Most world leaders are. Most world leaders are. I know he was no friend to the Jews, but, that probably has absolutely nothing to do with it. But, and I'll say that, and people are like, well, we have to worry about overseas too. I'm like, you don't understand what's happening here. I mean, I live in Alabama. I know this wasn't a big deal because, it's not, that shit's not going to happen here. But in Birmingham, Alabama, the other day, the Jewish Voices for Peace were protesting. And it looked, I mean, the first guy looked like a Julius Streicher painting. The second person was trans. And then they brought a BLM person up there. They live streamed it. The comments were all laughing at them, telling them fuck around and find out, because that's the way Alabama is. But I mean, Texas has probably one of the worst state governments on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Wheels, their governor, how many times has he visited India to talk about trade?
Good Lord.
7, 8.
State government too. That's so outlandish. For the audience, I wanted to say something really quick, but I agree that 25 to 30% are probably akin to Bolsheviks in the United States. But in 1917, Bolsheviks started around 24,000 members in February. They only grew to 200 to 350,000 by the October Revolution. So this represented a tiny fraction of the population of over 150 million. And
less than 1%.
Yeah, look what they were able to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Jews were 2% of the population, but they were 50% of the Bolsheviks. And look at what a huge problem this is going to be in terms of numbers in the United States. You're right. I think people have no idea what's going on domestically. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
And it's going on in Boise, too. It's
Yeah.
going on in Boise, too. Here's just to reinforce what Pete was saying. There's a reason why Telugu is one of the fastest growing languages in Texas.
Oh, my gosh.
Greg Abbott has proven he's more loyal to India than to Texans. You know, hello. Look at those numbers. You've got 39,000 Telugu speakers in Texas. And of course, where's ICE in Texas?
Right.
ICE isn't in Texas. They're in fucking Minnesota. Hello?
Man, I don't even know where this is. Speakers of Telugu.
And just to point out,
Oh, it's the Southern Timothy.
we had this bill here in Idaho last year. I was on the phone like right before we went live. We had this bill in Idaho last year that banned the trans progress flag. We banned gay flags from city property. So our Bolshevik Jewish mayor, Lauren McLean in Boise, made the trans progress pride flag an official city flag. Okay, and so they kept it up. They were able to skirt the law by changing the definition of the trans progress pride flag to, oh, this is our city flag now.
Oh, yeah.
So our base legislators were like, all right, you want to play like that? Fine, fuck you. We're going to ban city flags altogether. We're just going to get rid of them. And so now we've got Republican representatives Bruce Skog and Joe Alfieri. And I helped get Joe Alfieri elected, by the way. He would not have his seat if I didn't run for governor in 22. They voted against this new bill that would have finally banned gay flags from city property. And he said that he was supporting Representative Skog's motion. Okay, well, who's Representative Skog? Oh, he's one of the guys that flew over to Israel and planted the Idaho flag in Gaza. And he's like over there kissing the wall, sucking up to all of these.
Yeah, and this is
Jews.
Idaho.
This is Idaho.
Idaho government. Can you imagine how bad it is in other states? And you talked about this a little bit on your last stream, but there are legal precedents galore. If you're not willing to observe the law, then the law doesn't offer anybody any legal protections. And I think that we can look at ICE and we can all say that there's not going to be a systemic solution here. And it's becoming increasingly frustrating to try to describe this to the average American, which is why you talk about vanguardism all the time, which is one of my favorite things about you, Pete. How do you see this emerging over the next few years?
Well, I mean, I think the midterms, and not even because Trump has done a bad job, just from history, that the Republicans are going to lose the midterms. Now, there could be a gigantic get out to vote with MAGA and everything, but honestly, I don't know how a lot of people who voted for Trump feel, other than like the people who are who are hyper online, but that's not the majority of people. We already know that the majority of people don't even vote in the midterms. So, if Trump loses, if the Republican Party loses control of the House, then you're going to see just stalemate for 2 years of more impeachment kind of things. And they're not passing any laws anyway now, which of course is just lets you know that they're not serious. Everything's being done by executive order, and executive order can be turned over by the next administration. And also executive orders need to be enforced. Laws need to be enforced. It's tired to say just enforce the laws on the books now, but that's exactly what should be done. We're, like I said before, we're in an existential crisis. We are the foundation of who we are as a people has been cracked. I mean, I would be like, I don't care about Maduro. This is retarded. We have our problems here. And then guys on our side, guys who are like, purely J-pilled, like 100% J-pilled would be like, oh, so you like Maduro now? So you like communists? It's like, you're acting like a Jew. You're arguing like a Jew. It's the same thing when you're like, oh, fuck Israel and everything. Oh, so you like Hamas? So now you're arguing like a Jew. It's the whole thing about how you'll have these fucking retards be like, we just need to kick every Jew out of the country. I'm like, and what do you think would change?
Yeah.
Listen to the way you argue. Listen to the way look at the way the financial system works. Look at the way everything works. It's been completely Judaized. You don't understand that from a fundamental level, it's broken. We've been subverted. And most people aren't willing to go through the pain that it would take to fix that. Because it will be painful. There may be currency crisis. There may be real estate crisis. There may be, if any of these people who, talk shit online own a house or own anything. The point about vanguardism is that these people who just talk shit and, don't really understand how deep the rot is, how fundamentally fucked we are. They shouldn't have a say. When you're trying to rebuild something, you don't want people who argue like Jews to be in the conversation. You want people who can look and be like, don't feel like they have to be like, oh yeah, Trump did something really cool. We got a commie and everything. A commie, yeah. The Soviet Union fell over 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. Can we stop talking about commies?
Speaking of
communist dictators.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, speaking of arguing like a Jew, we have this interesting article that came out. I don't think you've seen this yet. Mm-mm. This came from the New York Times yesterday. Yesterday. Look at this. Minneapolis and Gaza now share the same violent language, right? And it's funny because we've been seeing people that are talking about, oh, ICE is trained by the IDF. ISIS is Zionist paramilitary organization being used by Trump, right? Like, so you would think that the New York Times running an article about how Minneapolis and Gaza now share the same violent language, right? You immediately think, I know where they're going with this. But when you read the article, Hamas and ICE share one very visible trait that I never thought I'd see in the United States. All of their foot soldiers wear masks.
Wow, they're really grasping at straws here.
We've got and this comes down to who's the mayor of Minneapolis, right? He's this Jewish guy. So you've got New York Times running these pieces to radicalize Jews against ICE by comparing them to Hamas, and that's happening on the right. And then on the left, you've got these people, oh yeah, ICE is just like the IDF. What the fuck?
Well, everybody wants to use current timeline to support their
niche political ideology.
Yeah, that's probably what's going on. But geez, that's hilarious. How do they manage to do that?
I mean, looking at the present through the president's eyes only. I mean, you saw that at the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Oh, this came out of nowhere. Putin woke up one day, and he had sand in his vagina, and he just decided to invade Ukraine. You have to look at everything from a historical standpoint. And that's why the answers, the solutions are not as easy as people think. Well, ICE can just go in there and use force, and they can do this. People need to get out of the way. No, actually, there are a lot of cities where ICE is not having to use force at all because they have the help of local law enforcement and state law enforcement. Now, if these protesters are insane, first of all, I'm not going to celebrate the death of my enemy because I'm not a Jew. I'm not, I don't need to make t-shirts like the IDF. I don't need to make memes and stuff because I'm not a Jew. And as far as I know, historically white people respected their enemies even in defeat, even after they defeated them. Jews are the ones that mock and, wear t-shirts about how we shot a pregnant woman, we killed a pregnant woman, so we got 2 for 1. Oh. So, if that's what you're doing, if you're out there mocking these people who, even though they're really shitty people, like Mike Shelby says all the time, hey, at least they're out there doing, it's kind of brave for them to go up against armed people. Whatever you think of these people, I think they're some of the worst people, and I would deport every single one of them into the middle of the sun. But you have to look and go, what they believe is fucked up, but at least they're acting upon it, and they're willing to die. And if they're willing to die, I'm not gonna mock them in death for what they did. That's sorry.
That this is such a character flaw, though, because I firmly believe that we're not supposed to be so deeply engaged in political hysteria. People are supposed to be living their average, mundane lives, and they're supposed to be happy with them. People don't need to have all of these insane convictions. You're supposed to have 100 people that you know and you care about. That's it. You're not supposed to give a shit about Gaza and all this other stuff. The idea that so many people in this country have these totally dysfunctional beliefs that they're willing to die for, that really is a sign of the times. Can't people just be average, for heaven's sakes?
Well, it's that heat map, right? Mm. Yeah, that people with a more traditional kind of thinking concentrate more on the people who are closest to them, and then the people who've completely lost the plot and accepted progressivism and regime politics and religion. Yeah, quite proud of that. It's the average person is not supposed to think about politics. The average person shouldn't think about politics. But Francis Parker Yockey wrote in 1948 that we live in the age of absolute politics, where politics has become insinuated into every nook and cranny of our life. Not a direct quote. Most people should be, I should be working on cars in my friggin' garage. I should be like rebuilding old cars and, building rifles and things that I like to do. I just feel compelled to talk about these things. But, also there are people on the other side of me, completely opposite of me, who feel like they need to be out there and fighting for people who hate them. The irony of this whole thing is you have 2 people dead in Minneapolis, one who had her hand blown off yesterday or this morning. I can't remember.
Yeah, I just saw that video.
I guess she tried to pick up a flashbang and, flashbang. Now you're, good luck wiping your ass for the rest of your life. These people, the people that they're out there defending, hate them and only see them as tax cattle. Keep paying taxes, you dumb white motherfuckers, so that we don't have to work and we can, we can go about, leering how to police you more. It's remarkable. I mean, my buddy Stormy said, had a tweet a couple weeks ago where he said that if George Washington was walking in America and saw a Somali, he would have cleaved him in the head with an axe and ran to the nearest church and told the pastor that he saw a demon. There's no reason these people should be here.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have people whose families may have been here for 200, 300, 400 years who are out there defending them, who are out there like willing to lay down their lives for them, willing to take I know you've seen these women who are like put their kids in strollers to go out there and they're using their kids as shields. You want to talk about the heat, where that lands on the heat map? That woman should have her children taken away from her.
For sure.
They'd be safer in a fucking circus. They'd be safer with carnies. I mean, people just do not. That's why the whole, you just have to get behind Trump. Trump wants to do the right thing. Even if I believed that Trump wants to save the country and do the right thing, he can't. He can't.
He doesn't have the power, and that's what is emerging as the truth now to even normies, that power is so massively decentralized. But this poses a problem for us that are trying to oppose power, because where is power? What do you think the head of the snake is? I mean, I don't think that there really is one. I think that there's like a major corporate aspect to this. I think that there's a Jewish power. That's what we talk about predominantly, but it's not the president.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no head of the snake. I can't remember who I was talking with when I said this recently, but thinking about armed revolution is not, well, it's retarded for a bunch of reasons, but the biggest reason is like, where would you even start? There's no head of the snake. That's why we were better. That's why humanity and Europe was better off under kings. Because you knew whose head to cut off when things got bad.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is, people talk about how this is like, this is the most organized, the biggest power, the most powerful government in the world, centralized power. It's not centralized at all. It's disparate. It's all over the place. You could shut down the State Department and the government could keep going. Really, I mean, but and I would say, well, what you do is you got to get rid of the Treasury and you got to get rid of the Federal Reserve. That would do it. Well, I mean, they'll just have something else to replace it, because people will demand it, because that would hurt, that would cause pain, and people would demand, we need something, we need a way to transact, and people don't realize that what you were talking about, Rebecca, is that it's like 100 people to 150 people. And that's who you should know. And that's who you should be tied to if you're at all. Because once you get past 150 people, it gets harder and harder to organize. And that's why the Bolsheviks were able to take over despite being, 12,000, is because they had a small core group of vanguard that was able to organize.
Right.
You can't organize. Everybody's like, we just have to wake up the normies. Well, I mean, even Tom Metzger said back in the 80s, if you wake up the normies, what the fuck do you do with them? You can't organize 100 million people. Most people can't. Most people. We found out real quick when high school started going to 5,000 and 6,000 people in the 1960s that you couldn't organize that it was out of control, that you were going to have riots, you were going to have rapes, you were going to have overdoses. You can't organize that, especially in a society that's multiracial.
Oh, of course, yeah. But that's the solution, right?
There's too many interest groups fighting.
The emergence of a racial consciousness will force people to divest in the political system. which is happening organically as we all see that the power structure is massively diversified. So maybe that should be the entirety of our focus.
Yeah, and our focus should be our history too. And I'm not even talking about the country's history. I'm talking about your family history. I mean, that's another thing that they had to destroy. I mean, anybody who's studied the authoritarian personality knows that they just said, well, I mean, if you have tight-knit families, especially white tight-knit families, they're going to become fascists. That's how you get fascism. That's how people do a fascism, is by having family and going to church.
Yeah.
And hating child molesters. They literally had a fucking sentence in there about, if you ever want to, if your opinion is that people who hurt a child should be punished above and beyond the law, you could be a fascist. I'm like, why don't you just call that the Leo Frank rule? considering who wrote the authoritarian personality.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it's foundational. That's why you basically have to start over again. That's why when people are like, oh, why are you talking about philosophy? Why are you talking about history? Why aren't you? It's like, because if you don't know your history and you don't know what you believe, what are you building? You're just building something that is going. If you don't have a solid foundation, it can be subverted, like the greatest subverters of all time have been able to subvert.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only the United States, but all of Europe as well.
Right. I also heard you talking about how this is really a white pill. I mean, we get this all the time. Like you're black pilling. You can't exist in this space if you're just going to issue black pills all the time. But I mean, isn't it a white pill that we're even discussing it? We haven't phoned it in and like we're getting wasted all the time or whatever hedonism that we would want to engage in if we didn't care about the movement and about the people. So why do you think that this is a white pill? The emergence of something new.
If I was black pilled, I would leave the country.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I can leave the country. I mean, I know people who, I used to run ads for a guy who helps people leave the country and set up elsewhere. I could just contact him and he could set me up somewhere else.
Yep.
But, it's like, I mean, is there a chance that that violence could take me someday? Sure. But I mean, I'm not going to go anywhere because after October 7th was the thing that made me insanely white-pilled. The response to it, watching people wake up, watching people contact me and go, I stopped listening to your podcast because you were talking about the Jews all the time, and I just thought it was like really rude. And it's like, well, now I'm listening again.
Yeah.
And it's here's one thing I know. We talk about a vanguard. And vanguard is very important to talk about. But also, if you know anything about the history when you've been subverted by these people, you know that it's not only a vanguard that wakes up to it and decides, okay, we got to do something about it. The general populace amongst itself decides, there's something really wrong here. And they'll stop doing business with them. They'll stop doing, I mean, I don't want it to come to that. I want every Jew to become a Catholic, but I don't think that's in the cards. But the fact that not only by the masses waking up, that also wakes up other people. That wakes up people who have the power, have the money, and can exercise the kind of influence to fight back against this, to fight back against them. I mean, I think it's very clear that someone like, Colonel Douglas McGregor, very well respected throughout the country, by him talking about the things he talks about, it's really important. And I think that Tucker Carlson, even if he's not willing to throw Romans and talk about 1488, anybody who suggests that that's what he should be doing, you really should go to Canada and seek health care there. because you don't really understand how any of this works and you're not in the game at all. Tucker Carlson talking about Israel, and also how much he concentrates publicly recently and in private, I know, going to the White House and telling the president that the anti-white hatred in this country has to be addressed. That these people are going to kill us. There are people out there who have influence who, if they start to act and they start to apply pressure, we can see things move in a different direction. But it's going to take time. I mean, the first revolution in Russia was 1905. They tried to institute the revolution to take over Russia in 1905. It took them another 12 years before they could do it. Now, it probably would have taken much longer if it wasn't, but World War I had worn the country down so much that it was opportune at the time. Another thing is, people just have to be patient. Wars like this are not won overnight. This is just intergenerational. And this one of the things I'm telling people, like in the Old Glory Club, is your sons right now, you need to be training them so that on the day they turn 18, they join the Old Glory Club and they know what it's all about. Because that's what the fight is. People have become so Jewish where they want everything right now, gimme, 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 that they don't realize that this fight is probably not going to be won in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And once you get to be as old as I am, you're like, okay, well, I mean, I'm probably not going to live to see the day, but at least I can try to leave something behind that will help, some kind of legacy that will help people in the future in this fight. But I mean, for people to think, oh, this needs to be solved now or we're all going to be killed. Well, I mean, if you think that, maybe a bunch of us will be. But that's true. That's just the march. That's just the march of history.
I think that people get discouraged.
Fight, if you're talking about it, then you have to accept the fact that you're a partisan and that might happen to you. Yeah.
People get discouraged because we're all so involved in the media cycle, which turns over so quickly. I mean, nobody's talking about Charlie Kirk anymore. When was that? September? Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest stories that's happened in our
That was the death of MAGA. That was the death of MAGA.
Absolutely, absolutely. But if people are flaming out, they can just pass the torch. It's okay to flame out.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I keep thinking about and reading about is the Reconquista in Spain. That took 750 years.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I'm so, big on Catholicism, because it's transcendental. It's
eternal.
It's eternal. It doesn't change from age to age or from, generation to generation. And it gives you something
it changes a little bit when you get infiltrated.
well, when you get infiltrated. But before that, anyway, before 1965, before Vatican II, it didn't change. And it gave people this thing to fight for, that they were willing to lay down their lives for. And it eventually brought Spain victory. And it was that same sentiment that was reawakened in the Spanish Civil War with the Roquette army and the Carlists and all of this.
The picture over my right shoulder is the surrender to Isabella and Ferdinand of the Caliphate.
Based. Yeah. It's but yeah, it's going to be intergenerational, and that's, we have to build something now. It's incrementalism. People they want to go vote. They want to vote for Donald Trump or a strong man that's going to fix everything, and they don't worry about what they themselves have to do to build, to educate, to create a culture that will not let this type of thing happen again.
To reject vice.
Yeah.
And hedonism and sloth.
Yeah, well, what did Corneliu Coderanu say? That Jews dwell in the swamp of our sins.
Oh, wow.
So, maybe start by draining that swamp.
Pete, we do have a few audience questions. Would you?
We do?
Sure.
I think we do. I saw some come through.
You got some ding dongs?
Pete is right. This is from FM 52080. Pete is right about what it'll take to right the ship. P.S. Rebecca, I ran into you at the Leonardo Joni show. Oh, in Huntington Beach last year, and I didn't realize it. Sorry. Should have said hi. Pete is right. This is why we have Pete on, because he has a very concise way. A lot of people don't have this holistic view of modern events because they don't have historical context, and you do, and that's why I think your voice is so important. We didn't have anything come through on entropy.
No. But we do have some. There was one from Danny Montana who sent us a super chat on the 14th, and I missed it, and I apologize. He emailed me about this. This was originally to me, you, and Cameron, but we'll sub Pete on this. Hi, Rebecca, Dave, and Pete. I want your opinion. I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, where immigration has surged and changed the area. A white majority community sounds appealing despite trade-offs. Is Texas a lost cause, or would moving to a like-minded area better protect my family?
This is a perfect question for Pete.
Yes.
It's a really difficult question because when you move, especially, if you're not from that place, if you're not from Dallas originally and you really have no roots there, then, you could think about moving someplace else. But if you're 6th generation or 7th generation somewhere, telling somebody to move, that's really hard, man. The worst thing, one of the worst things that's happened in this country is people have just become so deracinated. We've been taught that, you want to live in a certain area, and people, if you live where your ancestors are from, maybe your ancestors are from some place that is considered to be redneck or something like that, and then, the property's been paid for, generations ago. So now you have a chance to sell it and make insane amount of money and move somewhere else. And that's not something that our ancestors did. They stayed in one place and they built. And, it was just known that you were going to be there. The one thing I like about my town, the town I live in and I'm going to die in, is that the people here who, when they get a little bit of money, they buy more land here. So they're not going anywhere. Yeah. So I would say if you're originally from Dallas, Fort Worth area, and that's where your ancestors, if that's where your ancestors are buried, it's hard for me to tell you to go someplace else. But if, you're just, if you're one of those people who's become deracinated, much like myself, from where I grew up, where, it's impossible to live anymore, then, think about it. I don't want to recommend Alabama because I don't want more people coming here. I want our guys coming here, of course. If our guys wanted to move here, that would be wonderful. But there are a lot of states that will be on their radar last. And hopefully, what you can do is if you can build something somewhere that, they're not going to concentrate on until later, then we can work on defeating them before they get here. That's about it. Mississippi's a great state where you can land. If you work remote, especially with Starlink now and everything, you can pretty much live anywhere. And there are some places that these people, they're not going to be able to touch until full on start Skynet, and drones are just patrolling every inch of the sky. But it's hard for me to tell someone to move from where their ancestors are from. But if not, then figure out some place where people aren't putting. Rural Arkansas and places like that are really still untouched. But there's going to come a day where they'll start looking.
They will. Yeah.
They'll train their eyes upon it. But until then, all you can do is live and thrive. I know a lot of people. I have to assume that a lot of the people online who are just the real black pillars, they've just completely given up. And I can't see it. I grew up in that kind of environment where you're just, there's going to be a nuclear war anytime. You're going to be dead. Why try and everything, so, yeah.
This is kind of something I wanted to talk about at some point. I'll probably do a Dave After Dark about it maybe this week. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just get it all out here. I don't know. But like, there's been a lot of talk about the movement. What about the movement? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
there's no such thing.
Number one, yeah, there's no such thing. But number two, if you do want to talk about the movement, there's a name for it. It's called white flight. That was the movement.
Yeah.
It was the breakup of our ethnic neighborhoods in Philadelphia, New York, Boston. It was
Slaughter of Cities by E. Michael Jones.
The movement of people out of their ethnic neighborhoods and then into the suburbs. And then from one suburb to another, as capitalism turns people into these nameless, faceless economic units of input and output that are completely interchangeable with one another. And it's like, I'm moving to Idaho was like my 28th move.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. And like
so much,
when I was a kid, we moved every 3 or 4 years. Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Indiana, New York, Pennsylvania. Just every 3 or 4 years, the big corporations are like, all right, you're out. You're not taking the payola money, old man. You're moved out. And so for someone like that, for someone that is deracinated, for somebody that engaged in the movement, the white flight movement.
Yep.
Then I think, taking a hard look at, okay, where are we going to go? And of course, I live in North Idaho. I'm going to be, I want to do like real estate videos with you this summer. Like, because we're not realtors and we're not like we could make like racist real estate commercials.
Videos. At a certain point, though, you get to a place where you're like, I can't move anymore.
True. And, Alex, our friend from ODGG Supply, PNW Gorilla.
He's doing that.
Out in, southern Seattle area.
He's like, nope,
he's like,
I'm not.
That's it. I'm making a stand here. And God bless him.
God bless him
and God bless anybody that does that. But, there are things being built here in North Idaho and throughout the Pacific Northwest. Small little hamlets, little towns, places like Kettle Falls, up in northern northeastern
Don't talk about
Washington.
it publicly.
Yeah,
that's the smartest thing to do. Is just don't talk about it publicly. It's I've met Peter Seary from Return to the Land and everything, and I love what they're doing. I love every minute of it, every bit of it. But you want to do that without anybody finding out about it.
Yeah.
You just be, it was like that. I know like 10 years ago, this black town that popped up in like Georgia and people still talk about it. Oh, how come they can have a town? They don't have a town anymore. It didn't work out. I wonder why. But yeah, people talk. I guess that's one of the problems is that when you talk about the things that we do or that I do, I'll use myself just as an example. People are like, oh, well, what are you doing? I'm not going to tell you. I'm just not going to tell you publicly. I'm not going to tell you on the phone. I'm not going to tell you over the internet. I need to know who you are. I need to build social capital with you. Then we can talk. We can talk about the things that we're doing, but otherwise it's just way too easy to be infiltrated. And, for people to come in and do everything they can to derail whatever kind of momentum you have. And, it's hard enough to keep momentum when you're doing things and there are so many obstacles in your way that you don't need to talk about it on Twitter. You don't need to talk about it on social media. You don't even really need to talk about it in a Signal chat. You talk about it when you and your friends get together and,
IRL, yep.
Put the phone, leave the phones and you go and take a walk. That's what's important. Not that you're talking about anything illegal. you're just talking about things that you don't want people to know what you're doing, because we live in a world that not only do your enemies, your outright enemies, want to destroy you, but ask anybody who's been in this quote unquote movement for a long time. Dark Enlightenment is probably, we call him the historian of the movement. Anytime anyone's been doxxed, it's always come from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's always from the inside. So you really have to, Thomas 777 talks about this all the time. The reason why he travels so much is so that he can get to know people in real life and build social capital. Mm-hmm. And, that's why it was great meeting you in Oregon, Dave. We got to talk face to face, and I got to talk to a bunch of people face to face I hadn't met there before. And, when you talk to somebody and you can look into their eyes and you can study their body language, and, you can get to know them, and you can, I think most good people can tell whether somebody's trustworthy right off, within the first couple of minutes.
Totally.
And so I think that's important. The people who want you to scream on a stream or, post on Twitter, oh, well, what are you doing? You're out here criticizing Trump for all the great things he's doing. What are you doing? I'm doing nothing. Just ignore me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
Up to nothing.
We got a $10 super chat from Entwash Enjoyer. A nice surprise on a frozen Monday. Pete, it's Bean Mac.
Oh, hey, what's up, Bean? Awesome.
Really enjoyed the last Old Glory Club stream with Tim Kelly. Dave, you would make a great guest. Is that the Tim Kelly from Our Interesting Times?
Yep. Yeah, we had him on. We do Pony Express Radio on every Thursday night, and we were doing current events, and we wanted to break it up a little bit and change it up in the new year. So I just looked at the date. It was January 22nd, and I looked at historically what had happened on January 22nd. And January 22nd was when the court decided on Roe v. Wade, originally in the 1970s. I think it was 1972 or 73. And we thought we'd do an episode, a stream on, Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision and just what abortion has done to this country. And it was funny, we were in the chat, and at the same, people were like, who should we have on to talk about that? We need a guest. And I'm like, Tim Kelly's the only guy I want on to talk about that. So yeah, I just asked Tim. I've been on his show a bunch of times. He's been on my show a bunch of times, and he's one of the best people out there. He's a friend of mine said that I think gave Tim Kelly one of the best compliments. She said, all those years I was listening to Alex Jones and watching Alex Jones, if I had just been listening to Tim Kelly.
I think all of us regret our time with Alex Jones.
Tim's a real OG. And yeah, but speaking of Dark Enlightenment, I've been talking. I was just on a podcast. We recorded the podcast. Jesus, 2 weeks ago now. It's like they do one podcast a month, and I'm instant gratification.
Yeah.
Where is it? Are you posting
Fundamental Principles?
Yes. Yeah. And so that's
the Catholic podcast.
Yeah. It was such a pleasure talking with him. And is it Patrick? I think his co-host.
Yeah, Patrick.
Man, we went for an hour and a half, and it's just holy, we could be here for 5 or 6 hours, so we're gonna have to. I was talking about bringing him on. He's an expert on the housing crisis.
Oh, really?
Well.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
His whole thing is infrastructure.
Yep.
He's been studying infrastructure for years.
Oh, we should talk to him about that.
He's if you want to talk about the infrastructure of that mid-century German regime, I mean, he's got that. He knows the whole history of the Autobahn and everything, and all the names and how it was built and the he knows his infrastructure history as far as modern infrastructure of the modern state.
Yeah, no. So I think that would make a really, really good discussion. Let me just check entropy. Nothing. Nobody on entropy today.
They don't like my black pill.
It's so
I'm sorry.
hit or miss.
I'm not good for super chats.
That's okay.
Oh, it's fine.
We appreciate you coming on.
I don't
Pete.
care about the super chats. I don't care. It's fine.
My feelings aren't hurt at all. Thank you so much for coming on, Pete. Can you tell people where to find you?
Sure. Pete Quiñones show. Still on all the podcatchers. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever people are calling it. And, PeteSubstack.com. And, check. I'm going to probably do every other week now on Pony Express Radio on Thursday nights on the Old Glory Club's YouTube channel at 8 Eastern. And we stream there every week. And we also have a Monday night stream called American Spirits, where basically trying to answer the question of what is an American historically. And then our chapters have their own stream on Wednesday night called Chapter House, where we highlight one chapter a week, and they come on and they talk about the things that are happening in their states and their areas. So the Old Glory Club channel,
with the Old
YouTube
Glory
channel
Club.
Gets a lot of work going on there.
Yeah, definitely follow the Old Glory Club. And have you finished? I know that you were doing, was it 200 Years Together? You were reading Solzhenitsyn's 200 Years Together, which still...
Soon. Probably got about 20 to 25 episodes left.
It's like you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life.
I've been doing it for 5 years.
So that's really great. Well, thank you so much for
check out our guest, Pete Quiñones. We will talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Academic Agent just posted our interview, and he has me bleeped for an entire 10 minutes of just bleeping. So please check it out, because these Brits are roasting me in the comments. Now that I'm really J-woke, I've developed this total inability to read a room.
Really?
Well, I just went in there guns blazing, thought I was being normal.
Yeah.
And
well, that's just it. You are being normal.
I just went too hard, and they're not ready for it, man.
That's so weird for me, because I guess I live in a bubble, an anti-Semitism bubble.
I called that, what is her name, Renee Good.
Mm-hmm.
I called her a race traitor, and people just lost their shit in the comment section.
Really?
Well, I don't
George
think it's
Floyd.
Yeah, it's not that. So if you guys want to go support me in those comment section.
Where is that?
The comment section. Academic Agent, his most recent video.
Academic Agent.
No, Academic Agent.
Academic Agent. Let's see, where is it?
It's that one. What's the current state of Trump?
Is it? Oh, this is it.
Trump
okay.
mega ice.
Right here.
Right there.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Just absolutely blasted.
Really?
In the comment section.
Wait, hold on. Let's look. Let's take a quick
Go
look.
most recent.
Somebody replaced the fire alarm battery. 6 million beeps. Is there an unbleeped version? No point of having the discussion with this amount of redactions.
It's all about the bleeps for a while.
She's speaking in Morse code.
A nice, sensible leftist conversation, somebody says.
Bro, I can't wait to watch this. That's so funny.
Dude, I just can't read a room anymore. I don't know what is wrong with me. I just see someone in the street. I'm like, have you heard about the Jews? I can't stop myself. Anyway, so go check it out. I thought it was a good interview, but now I'm getting all insecure about it.
When we were talking with Pete, he was talking about maybe we should kill the Federal Reserve. Have you seen? I've seen.
What is it, silver?
Bro, look at this.
What is it?
That's silver.
Oh, is it silver?
That's the chart.
I was like, is that silver or is it ass coin?
No, that is not. This is not fart coin. That's not ass coin.
Queef coin.
That's silver, which is absolutely blowing up. It's currently at $107.62 an ounce. Gold finally broke the $5,000 an ounce barrier. We've got to get you guys over to atlasbullion.com/backlash. This debasement of the American currency, the debasement of the dollar, it's not over. It's not ending anytime soon. If you haven't noticed, Donald Trump is not saving his money in dollars. Okay, he's got all of his money offshore in Qatar, in Bitcoin, stable coins, all of this other stuff, gold, silver. They're debasing the dollar because in order to bring manufacturing back, we need to make it cheaper here. So if you think that the gold and silver run is over, you've missed the boat. It's not ever going to be over.
It's not ever going to be over, yep.
They've got an infinite money printer. So please go to atlasbullion.com/backlash. Start saving for the future. Gold and silver, best prices on the internet. They actually have inventory, although it is starting to get tight. They have a little notice that gold and silver inventory is getting tight, but they still have it. You can still call and arrange some purchases. atlasbullion.com/backlash. We've also got to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Antelope Hill Publishing. They're fighting to keep history alive and to equip a new generation of dissidents with the materials and information needed to fight the anti-white regime. Their varied catalog includes a newly updated and expanded third edition of Kevin MacDonald's Culture of Critique, the essential modern text on Jewish identity, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne's magnum opus, Greatness and Ruin, the definitive scholarly examination of European exceptionalism, as well as works by Carrie Bolton, Paul Kersey, and Josh Neal. Antelope Hill recently brought David Irving's iconic Nuremberg: The Last Battle back into print. They've got numerous translations of historical works from eras such as Fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, Civil War Spain, previously unavailable in English. There are also plenty of books on contemporary issues such as transgenderism, the opioid crisis, and Christian nationalism, as well as history books, novels, and children's books. So whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books you'll like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published with sleek modern cover art. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and fight for our cause. Visit AntelopeHillPublishing.com. Speaking of ancient texts that Antelope Hill has brought to life and brought new
did you hang out with Vince
translations
on your
of.
birthday?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, cool.
There is a
Happy birthday, Dave.
Oh, thank you. There's a new book club episode out from Antelope Hill Publishing where I joined Kurt and Taylor to talk about their book, Rise of the Reich. It's a very interesting book. I think it was a good podcast. Probably not. I'm probably going to get absolutely shat on in the comments for being a Catholic spurg, but that's fine. It's one of those things where it was like, I'm thinking, oh, this is the rise of the Reich by the SS. This is going to be like the history of AH coming to power. And
It wasn't?
No, it was like the equivalent of Tucker Carlson's interview with Putin, where he's like, hey, so what happened in Ukraine? Well, Tucker, it all started in 800 BC in the Little Ice Age. And that's what this book is like. It literally starts in the Ice Age and then traces the German nation from -0, up through the I'm sitting there at the 1000s, right? It's and the year is 1075. And I'm a quarter of the way through this book.
From when they were chasing pigs through the forest?
Yes, exactly.
The old E. Michael Jones throwback.
Exactly. And so anyway, definitely not what I thought that it was, but very enlightening. And it's so interesting to read, in their own words. There's this one, I mentioned it in the podcast, but it's they just kind of want equality among the nations and dignity and the ability to trade between other people.
Yeah.
In a dignified, and it's just that's not what I was told they were all about. I thought they just wanted to murder everybody and dominate the world. But here it is in black and white in their own words that is not actually what they wanted to do. So anyway, go check out that podcast. We've also got to give a big shout out to Above Time Coffee Roasters, hand roasted small batch premium pro white coffee for your coffee cup in the morning. I'm drinking the blonde roast. It's very good. It'll get you wired. It's almost like Pervitin, but not quite as good.
They should sponsor a blonde roast.
Where they put you on a steak
And
and
then
they
people roast me. You remember Comedy Central used to do that?
Oh, that would be funny.
Also,
That would
burning me
actually
at the
be funny.
stake
I
for ad
wasn't
revenue
sure.
purposes would be really counterproductive. But we're desperate for money, so I'm in.
Yeah. So please check out Above Time Coffee Roasters and use promo code Backlash10. You'll get 10% off your order. And also, you can use Backlash10 at Antelope Hill, which is very good. Also got to shout out ODGG Supply. In case you haven't noticed, the federal government is funding both sides of the Civil War. Did you see the new omnibus spending package?
Yes.
Did you see how it funds the leftists in Minnesota and the Somali daycares?
They want us to do a civil war.
And it also funds ICE. So they're spending money on the left and they're spending money on the right. It's just like Charlottesville, where they took the alt-right and the left and put them together with shields, and they forced them together and were like, fight, fight, fight. That's exactly what's happening in Minnesota. They're trying, I think, to kick off a civil war. And I don't think that would be good, but in the meantime, you can get prepared. You can get yourself some plate carriers, helmets, blankies, knives, optics. They've got one, they're doing a promo, I think, on, what is this called? A charging handle. That's right, a charging handle for your trusty AR-15. You want to get rid of all the stock, it's all trash anyway. Get a good charging handle for your gun. But anyway, visit odggsupply.com. Use promo code Backlash25. You'll get free shipping on your order, rucksacks, belts, apparel, camouflage, everything that you need to be prepared in the case of an emergency. You should not be leaving your home without like a bug out bag, especially if you live in a big city. So visit them and also follow them on X at PNW Gorilla. And I think...
Did we forget somebody?
Yeah, we did.
North Idaho Tallow.
North Idaho Tallow Company. They've got skincare without endocrine disruptors, all natural, simple and effective, no harsh chemicals, handcrafted right here in Idaho. Soap, balm, lip balm, candles. They've got a special Valentine's Day signature gift box ready to gift. You've got like 5 days left if you want to get your Valentine a nice little box for some self-care.
Ugh.
You can do that at idahotallow.com. That's idahotallow.com. And by the way, orders over $100 are shipping free again. So if you were holding off because the shipping is like $8 or whatever it is, you can also buy it with Bitcoin. idahotallow.com.
Oh, Reinhardt sent one in. They aren't spending money on the right at all. I'm so blind.
Yeah, he said they aren't spending money on the right at all. They are funding the left and funding the government. Curiously, the right never seems to get any of this government or NGO funding. Well, I mean, when I say the right, I mean like ostensibly they're funding the right because they're funding ICE, and ICE represents the right. ICE are Nazis, blah, blah, blah. The actual right is indeed not getting funding from the government, although I wish we were. But no, the actual right is not getting funding from the government. What is getting funding is Palantir, Anduril, all of Peter Thiel's companies. They're getting money. ICE is getting money. And the leftists are all getting money through their Somali daycare scams and all of these goofy healthcare, Medicaid bullshit companies that they're spinning up in these corporate warehouses. And of course, the left, they know what to do with money when they get it.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to launder that. They know how to put that in the pipeline. Like that crazy bitch, remember, that got arrested and dragged out of that town hall a year ago?
Yes.
She raised $300,000.
$300,000, that is right.
And where do you think that money is? That money is definitely, it's being deployed in Idaho Indivisible and all of this other bullshit. There was a protest on Sunday, an anti-ICE protest in Coeur d'Alene. I don't know if you saw that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, it's all fake and gay. Stay away from Minneapolis.
Everything's fake and gay. That's the takeaway from the Backlash. We're going to have a great show on Wednesday.
Yes, we are. What are we talking about?
I don't know. ICE. We're just going to talk about ICE the whole time.
Send us an email at info@thebacklash. We're probably missing something. I mean, Japan's government collapsed on Friday. They disbanded the parliament.
We're going to talk about that.
Gold, silver, ICE. Mexico. There's that new national security document, which is basically toilet paper.
The omnibus bill.
Oh, yeah. Are we going to get a government shutdown by the end of the week?
Who gives a shit? Watch the Backlash on Wednesday.
We'll find out what we're talking about 30 minutes before we go live.
No, that is not true. I'm working on the outlines for like days ahead. No way. I reject that characterization. It was good to see you. We'll see you on Wednesday.